Welcome back. That's our guest today, Waziri Bulama, former National Secretary of the APC, joins us here in the studios. Good morning, and thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, so this morning, Nigerians woke up to the news that the electricity tariff is likely going to go up.
It's likely to go up, yes.
So maybe some 200, some 300 different perspectives, depending on how they implement the 2024 multi-year tariff order, increase in natural gas. That's on the one hand, and then on the other hand, they know the impact of that will be that it will have ripple effect.
Oh, sure.
On several other things that they will do. The purchasing power already diminishing. They are being buffeted on every side by the vagaries of the economy, and some think that the economic policies need to hang tight because it doesn't seem to be doing any heavy lifting at the moment. And the big question then comes to the leadership. The president, leadership of which is your party. They just ask, did we take a wrong step by putting your party to lead us at this point in time, considering all that the country is going through right now?
No, absolutely not. You know, we had, there was an overwhelming, vote for the president, in terms of both the numbers and the spread. So he has, national endorsement, to lead the country. The policies, that you see today impacting very heavily on the country are essentially very important reform measures at making certain sectors of the economy work. For instance, the electricity, earlier, before that, there was this issue about removal of subsidy on petroleum products. And then the other one is the merger of the, parallel, rates in the convergence, in the exchange rate of the dollar, of the naira. And then, of course, this one, the electricity tariff that is likely to go. The important thing is to ensure that systems work. It is, and these are very important reform measures to ensure that systems work, and the impact of these policies on the citizens is well known and well understood. Measures will be taken, of course, clearly to ensure that the impact of these policies on businesses, on individuals, on homes, and on people with salaried, fixed incomes and so on, the impact of these measures are ameliorated. So, but the fundamental, step are all reform measures to ensure that systems work. For instance, the first one, which was the removal of the oil subsidy, everybody was, there was a consensus all over the country that a lot of money was being, thrown away in managing, the subsidy issue. And then the other one, the exchange rate issue too. There was the issue of arbitrage and giving, so these are all measures, economic measures aimed at ensuring systems work.
About the part where you say there was a consensus that a lot of money was being frittered away by a certain group of people, much as there are some who had concerns considering the message that the political class was selling to people, that subsidy was being for the elite, it was a fraud, it came across as though it was only them that will be affected when subsidy is gone. But alas, people saw that it was way much more than they were telling us. They were not telling us the whole picture. And secondly, when that was going on, till date, maybe you can tell us, since you're within the eggheads in the party, is there anyone being prosecuted for the so-called subsidy fraud right now, that they said it was fraud upon its removal?
Well, I cannot go too much into the details of this, this discussion really on this particular issue because I don't have enough information on it. But the point is that just as you see the people who were given, who were granted, foreign exchange, at low rates that they turn, out to sell at higher rates to the real people who are in need and so on. There are elements of misdeeds, in the whole affair, but I don't know to what extent the government is looking back, to hold some people accountable.
That's for the foreign exchange component.
Yeah, and as well as even the fuel subsidy issue as well.
But we don't have any information. You can't tell us if there's anyone being prosecuted.
No, I don't have any information that much detail. But I think
that suggests there's nothing going on at the moment.
No, I do, because you know, really, I mean, I'm not inside government, you understand? I'm a party leader. I'm a member of the board of trustees. You know,
yeah, but if anybody is going to court or being prosecuted for subsidy fraud, the country will know.
But the point is,
there's nobody right now.
Well, so far, none.
So
but the point is,
that's one
and the point is that we cannot say that the matter is closed anyway. I mean,
yeah, we're not saying it's closed. We're saying at the moment, no such thing, because we thought, I mean, I thought it was basic that if they thought it was fraud, people were engaged in fraud, unless you want to give them a slap on the wrist, unless you welcome the so-called fraud, as they told us, you will prosecute people, they'll face the music.
Well, to that extent,
the way the former CBN governor is.
At a certain point, really, I also felt that, you know, too, I mean, the public knew, I mean, heard that, you see, there was fraud. Okay, if you stop fraud, okay, what of those people who are causing the fraud? You understand? I mean, that is an issue, really.
Yeah, and, so no information on that yet. Yeah. And then in addition to that, when you say lots of people thought, okay, well, subsidy needed to go, but there's supposed to be a method to the madness. People did not say, remove the subsidy without any plans whatsoever, in a knee-jerk reaction manner, which was the way it occurred and it came across. It was much later. We're now grappling to see how we can put in place policies after the horse has bolted from the stable. And so that was not what people thought, because the effect, many are still feeling today. So the way they went about it was not the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, but this issue has also been exhausted, you know, the discussion over, you know, the method of the decision or how sudden
you didn't add that part, so that's why I thought to remind you.
Well, but the point is, it was something that was already expected, because, you see, the 2023 budget never provided for subsidy payments, and the budget, you know, is low. So what the president did was simply to announce, but I mean, all this, the leaders in the petroleum sector, all the elites in the country knew that as from, you know, June 2023, there was not going to be subsidy payment, because there was no provision for subsidy payment in the budget.
That's why they should have planned properly in terms of what they were going to do about the removal, and not just their focus on the announcement of the removal without putting in place measures.
Well, you see, the point is, whichever way, I mean, that decision has been taken, and the government has already, you know, taken so many measures to absorb, you know, the impact of this policy on citizens.
I mean, you keep talking about that, about absorbing the impact.
Yes.
You also mentioned that when you were talking about this increase in electricity tariff.
Yes.
How? How do you want to absorb the impact that this is going to have? The Daily Trust is actually reporting that this money is going to move from 68 naira to 200 naira.
Yeah.
So how do you want to absorb the impact of that? When you remove fuel, when the government in power, who is a member of a party, you rode on a lot of promises. When you took away fuel subsidy, you said you were going to help cushion the impact. This cushioning, is it the palliatives? Is it the rice that is the cushioning of the impact? A lot of these policies that have come up as some kind of stopgap measure to cushion the impact of the removal of fuel subsidy, in many ways have not exactly cushioned the impact, because many Nigerians are dealing very severely with a lowered standard of life. So they will look at your party, which is where that's where Chamberlain's question came in at the time. It's your party, we're going to be looking at you and say, did we make the right decision or not? You said cushioning again with the increase in electricity tariff. How?
There are, you know, I don't have sufficient data at the moment, you know, to give, you know, you all the details of the measures to reduce the impact of these policies on businesses and individuals, you know. But the point is, there have been a raft of measures, you know, from all, you know, sectors, you know, Ministry of Agriculture, Communications, the increased allocation to, you know, the subnational governments, the state governments, as well as the local governments, and so many, you know, others that have been made possible to really reduce the impact of these policies, you know, on the citizens. Some have started working, you know, some are still, you know, slow in coming, you know, impacting on the citizens. But the most important thing is that these measures are all important reform measures to ensure that systems work, wastages are reduced, you know, burden on wastages, on the economy are reduced. These are the fundamental things.
What can you tell us about, because I mean, there are those who don't understand how the ruling party took over from the predecessor of the same party.
Yes.
They thought that they'll at least have a proper understanding of what the policies were previously, and then, you know how they say, hit the ground running this time, because it's the same party. If it were a different party, the bottleneck usually is the handover, in most cases, not smooth. But in this case, they thought that that proper coordination would have happened. But from what people can see, it comes across to them as though there were so many things that where this government were in the dark about with the previous government.
Yeah, you see, we have to also take this look at it within the context of the maturity of our parties. You see, the parties are not yet, become solid, ideologically. The manifesto of our party, which is the outline of our promises and undertakings to Nigerians, have not been properly developed. In fact, the one in our party has been, many years now. It's not gone, updating. And also there has been, a different, the approach to leadership by the different, elected leaders, who, administer leadership without recourse to the party. So this kind of...
Is that what happened the last time?
Of course, you see, it is not hidden that, for instance, the first 8-year rule of leadership of our party from 2015 to 2023, was largely, the governance was driven by 3 factors, security, economy, and corruption. You understand? There was no sufficient work to integrate, you see, this objective, to the party's manifesto, and to also the leadership of the parties at the subnational levels. There was no harmony and so on. So these are all things that have, plagued, our emerging, democracy. So this democracy, which is now, 25 years in this country, really, we are struggling to institutionalize our parties, to give our parties, strong systems, processes, and models of doing things, to give them unique, ideological, identity. So to give, and to also align our manifesto not only with the wishes of Nigerians, but to ensure that all the leadership at all levels of governance all align in terms of the objectives that they are pursuing under the leadership of that party.
So in other words, your party, the APC, had a manifesto, but the last time, as you say, from 2015 to 2023, the CPC, ANPP, and ACN cliques somehow
parties, that were dissolved to fuse into the APC. Yes.
So somehow it appeared as though that divide still existed within the party to the extent that those policies in the manifesto
Actually, I didn't say
was
that.
Not carried out.
No, I didn't say there was a structural problem in the APC.
You said they operated without recourse to party manifesto.
But it is so. This is common, to all the parties in the country.
So what was the cause? How did why do you think they operated without recourse to party manifesto?
We are the democracy in Nigeria is still young. It's a fledgling, democracy from 1999 till 2023, and we are struggling to ensure that the parties work. The parties are ideological. The parties have systems, processes, and procedures. All these things are very difficult in emerging for the parties to have strong corporate structure and so on. So this is something that is similar. This is happening. This has happened in many other countries.
Yeah, but the point is, it wasn't a government of national unity. It wasn't a coalition government. It's the same party.
Yes.
What's so difficult about all of you being on the same page in the same party, or at least those who are up there in the same party?
Democracy takes time to build. Parties take time to consolidate. So it is not peculiar to Nigeria. Going forward, we learn from lessons and improve, on our performance to ensure that, what we offer Nigerians, is unique, And we have systems and procedures within our ranks that are very certain and transparent and accountable. This takes time to do it, but we're doing our best. We have stuck together, you see.
Do you think your best is good enough?
Pardon?
You think your best is good enough?
I'm not saying it's, of course I will not be talking like this if as the process is a process. If the situation is that good enough, I won't be talking like this. You know, you ask me about a very delicate question which most people avoid. What, for instance, I mean, the difference between the leadership of the first 8 years of APC in government and today. This is a very delicate question most people, run away from. But I'm trying to tell you, as an insider, as a professional, my own understanding of the fundamental issues that are responsible for this difference in approach to decision making.
So, what you have highlighted now, do you think that your party has clearly understood what the challenges were at that time and then are addressing it at the moment? And how do we know that that has been addressed?
Well, you see, we have a leadership at the moment that is accepted responsibility for leadership. You know, President Bola Tinubu is a thoroughbred politician who rose through the processes to emerge as candidate and eventually present himself with his manifesto to be elected. Quite unlike, you say, experience from 1999 to 2019, you know, when we had this first 7 or so elections, where we had statesmen, you know, who were pleaded and, and invited to preside over the political system. You see, this time around, you see, we have someone who rose from the processes, a blue-blooded politician. So he said, look, I accept responsibility for everything. And the buck stops on my table. Hold me accountable. And I will also appoint people that are hold accountable. So this approach to leadership is different. This approach to leadership is accountable. This approach to leadership, you see, will produce a different approach to governance than the previous one. And also it will impact, you see, on our party, because you see, the party is the platform. I want
to talk about that party right now.
Yes.
Because you mentioned something while you were talking,
yes.
and it had to do with the ideology of your party.
Yes.
I think myself and many other people want to know, what is the ideology of the All Progressives Congress?
The aspiration of the party, you know, at its formation in 2013, we set out to create a party that is socially responsive, a party that is driven by the needs of people, a party that would take its lessons from what is happening on ground with citizens, you know, and a party that has concern for addressing the problems of the majority of, you know, the citizens in the country, youth and the women, the poor, and so on. So basically, that was our undertaking, quite unlike, you see, what we saw, you know, in the other, you know, parties, you know, before 2013.
Well, you basically told me a lot of things that you aspire to do.
Yes.
What do you stand for?
Well, we stand for the Nigerian people, unity of Nigeria, because you see, by dissolving, you know, the different parties, you know, that we held before, which were, even though national in terms of registration, but the party had limits in terms of operations. So they were either tagged sectarian or, you know, ethnic and so on and so forth. We dissolved those identities to found, you know, a national broad-based party. So our fundamental #1 undertaking to ensure that there is unity among all, you know, the different groups and cultures and tribes and religions and regions in the country, a solid national broad-based political party that is focused on addressing the needs of all the citizens of this country.
You see, the continuity that Chamberlain has been alluding to is because, you know, if we're moving from the APC to the APC,
yes,
we should see a seamless understanding, a seamless movement, and that's why it's important that we understand what you stand for, so that we can know what to expect from you. from the policy-wise, governance-wise, from the All Progressives Congress,
yes,
what it does look like is like a lot of things being jumbled together, almost as though we're reactionary to everything and not forwarding a particular agenda for the Nigerian people. What do you think about that?
Well, the point is that we don't seem like we pay enough attention to what is going on because, for instance, our president presented an 8-point, agenda. It was centered around addressing, issues of unemployment, issues of, gender and youth inclusiveness, issues of rule of law, security, addressing the issues of waste, mismanagement and corruption and so on, captured firmly in an 8-point, framework. And we expect Nigerians to judge him on the basis of that. And we campaign on those 8-point issues, you see, and we are implementing that assiduously across all the sectors, of government. And one thing that I want you to please understand is government, you may have an agenda like this, you may have a vision. Now you have to back it up with policy, with appointments, then you have to, because there are processes and steps towards implementing programs. And then it also takes time. So at the moment, it's still early stages to have a holistic judgment on the impact of policies. Because these policies, we are still within the first year.
When do you think we can start to judge it? When April, May is next month. But, so he'll be a year in office.
But at the moment, as professionals yourself, you have to judge on the intent and the steps, early steps, not the outcomes and the results.
I don't understand that statement. We need to judge on the outcomes.
For instance,
results. We need to judge based on results, not based on capacity or based on intent.
For instance, there is this provision of renewed hope housing. Now we intend to build houses all over this country, and a very big scheme has been launched in Abuja. Okay, the project has been launched, but you won't say 8,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 houses have been provided. So the expectation, it is not the outcome that you would judge the government from. You have to judge the government from the steps that it has taken. For instance, I would see that in this first year or in the first few months of this government, I would prefer that the president would be judged on the basis of his leadership style, his undertaking, his programs, his appointments, his policies, and then his intention to ensure that he holds, appointees to account.
Okay.
Another thing that is very important is that one thing that he has also displayed is his responsiveness to public, reaction. That, anytime a policy is implemented or a decision is taken, and then there is, public reaction of some sort, he responds to it instantly, because this is also part of his leadership style, which is responsive and which Nigerians appreciate.
Well, we know that the former CBN governor is answering questions for his role in the way some things turned out. And when you talk about this president's intentions, several people always say, look, in that last government, there were several other names that were ringing bells in terms of their role, in what transpired, what happened, how they went from zero to hero in terms of, pocket-wise. And many thought, yeah, if the CBN governor is in custody answering questions, they must have gotten some key details. And the public expected several other people to answer questions, because he didn't do all whatever it was he did alone. And so what could the intention of this government be then, since you speak about intentions? Is it giving some people a slap on the wrist and letting them go just like that? Because they don't see several other names answering questions.
This is not, this government is not an autocratic government. It's a democratic government that has to govern by the rule of law. And the responsibility, for accountability is as much on all of us as much as the president. So the president said, hold me accountable. So if you have evidence that something went somewhere, something went missing, you have as much responsibility to bring this out, because the agencies of government responsible for investigating and prosecuting her there. For me, I mean, this is where I will stop. I'm neither the AFCC chairman nor the Justice Minister to give you updates.
Do you think that was the approach
or investigation? But the point is, this man said, look, I am going to take responsibility for decision.
Do you?
Any bad decision, I am going to reverse it and also punish anybody found taking decision. And he has done so. Even under this government, his own minister, who had been found to have done something wrong and so on, the person was apprehended.
So what penalty did the person face?
In government there are processes, comrade.
Yeah.
I mean, it is not like
what's the current process now?
You say, okay, someone did something, and that person has to, or that issue has to be put through processes before a decision.
So what process? What part in the process are we in now in that particular case?
I mean, I have no information on that, honestly. But I know a decision had been taken and processes are going on. That's all that I know.
Do you expect more people from the previous government to answer questions about their role in the way this economy has gone? More so, the questions about the ways and means, several questions really. Do you expect more people to answer questions?
Well, if the situation warrants it, if Nigerians, expect it and demand it, if there is evidence.
No, you are a Nigerian. No, I'm asking you,
a Nigerian.
Do you expect?
I don't think anybody has the right, not even the president or anybody has the right
to expect
to allow some crime to go on, or somebody who committed crime or took money, Nigerian money, to go and go scot-free. So I mean that is the situation. But then every issue has to be taken on its merit, and every issue has to pass through processes. And so that is as much I can say on this
So
issue.
you expect at least more people to answer questions for their role, because it wasn't one person. It was a team of people.
But I don't have information on that.
No. I'm not asking if you have information. I'm asking, do you expect?
Expectations. Do you expect that to happen?
Well, I expect that either the previous government, or even much earlier governments, or even this government, if there are issues of wrong, I expect the government to act.
All right. So still on, some of what's happening up there in terms of the kind of results we see now, the governors.
Yes.
In fact, the governors of your party, for instance, because if I talk about other parties, they may say they are frustrating us. The governors of your party, are you satisfied with how they've carried on in terms of the resources they're getting from FAC allocation and how they're governing their states?
There is a general consensus in this country that there is no sufficient oversight over what is happening at these subnational levels. There is a general consensus. Nigerians are not satisfied with the way, governors manage states and local governments. So it's not me, but everybody, almost, everybody, except probably the governors, but nobody is happy or satisfied with the way the states are managed, because they are not accountable to anybody, And they also, manage the local government and its funds. They use completely appropriate.
So they don't listen to the party chairman if he tells them, look, Nigerians are not happy.
Well, the national chairman of the party has no authority, to
tell them Nigerians are not happy?
He can only, he can just give advice, But the point is that we saw a situation where even presidents, just give advice to governors, but they don't, instruct, governors. Because that's what our constitution...
Does the party meet with do you meet with governors from your party from time to time?
Of course the party meets, the governors and all the elected
What kind of
people.
conversations happen at these meetings?
Well, any issue thrown up by the agenda of that particular meeting is discussed.
So, there hasn't been a time when the governance issues at subnational levels came up in those meetings. It never came up.
Not to my awareness, because, personally, I left the management of the party, quite a while ago, it's been quite a while. So I don't have the details, really, of the content, of the, discussions.
Okay, so while you were in the party, you know that if vast majority of Nigerians are not happy. And if a chunk of Nigerians in states governed by APC are not happy with the performance of the party, chances are that they will not vote the party next time out. So it will have direct impacts on whether or not they're going to elect officials of the party across board. That's why we ask that, is it that the party doesn't consider all of this and tell the governors, look, this is the feedback we're getting from the people. Now, even if other parties are not bringing a lot to the table, you, members of our party, we think we owe you that responsibility, and Nigerians at that who put us there, to tell you, the governors, you have to do more than you're doing now.
You know, Chamberlain, even though you're putting the APC on the spot because we're in power, but the point is, you see, there has been some serious thinking. I mean, there is some serious issues, some questions raised, you see, on our democracy. For those of us who are really managing issues of strategy, analysis, and so on the health of our democracy and so on, there are disturbing issues really with the Nigerian democracy that is noticeable, but most people really haven't taken note of it. For instance, the 2023 elections produced the biggest voter apathy in the history of our elections. 94 million Nigerians registered to vote. Only 24 million Nigerians, which is about 26%, which by all global standards is very low. And knowing that, you see, a general election is in a multi-party presidential democracy is like a referendum on democracy itself. This should really be an issue of concern for all of us. That is why, for instance, people show rejection. They don't come out to vote. Really, they don't feel incentivized to come out to vote. Well, elections held, we won the elections. But the point is that the general attitude of Nigerians to democracy and the processes and the system was very, very weak. That should be a big source of concern. As a result of that, right now I've written memo to most of our leaders that we should, on Democracy Day this year, when democracy is turning 25 years in Nigeria, we should call for a colloquium to review the performance of the multi-party presidential democracy in Nigeria, so that we understand, our strengths and weaknesses, our gains and pains, and our challenges that are remaining, and then try to improve to ensure that democracy impacts on the life of Nigerians.
I know you've looked at the figures
for
the last elections, and you saw that the combined votes of, say, the Labour Party and the PDP compared to that of the APC. Does that tell you something?
Yes.
What did it tell you?
No, but the point is, if you add PDP, Labour Party, and the NNPP, their number, was bigger than the number.
Has that happened before in history?
Not quite. No.
So that's a huge statement.
Well, it is. It is, especially knowing the fact that the quality of elections has improved in Nigeria.
Did it?
Yeah, it has improved.
For this last, which elections? The 2023 or the governorship elections?
2023 election. I can tell you that it was the best election, the most transparent.
Well, you're in the APC, so I won't expect you to say it was not the best election.
No, let me tell you this.
I'll be disappointed.
First and foremost, before anything else, you see, I'm a Nigerian. I'm a professional. I'm a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Architects. And actually, you see, my goal in the political process is essentially to correct things. I'm a process-driven person, you see. The point is that, you see, the thing is, I can tell you, and besides, the last 4 presidential elections, I've managed those elections at the level of Directorate of Strategy, 2011, 2015, 2019, you are aware, I was the Deputy Director General of the campaign. 2023, I was the Director of Strategy of the grassroots presidential campaign. I have data and I monitor the processes, the workings within INEC, within the security systems, voter behavior, and all these things. The election in 2023 was best. In fact, the only thing is about the IREF the issue of IRA, why it was not, the results were not transmitted to the central portal and so on. But this one is just an addition. Otherwise, you see, at every polling unit, the results were declared, and every party agent and every party leader knew the election results.
I'm glad you talk about data. Have you or your party conducted any poll whatsoever to gauge the opinion of Nigerians to support your claim that it was the best election?
Look, we have not done that. Actually, every party,
on what basis
every party is supposed to do a kind of
postmortem. On what basis then? On what basis are you saying that it was the best election? Because several people don't think so.
It was the best election because there were independent observers. Look, don't you see the civil
that's not the criteria per se.
The Nigerian civil society groups in charge of who are monitoring these elections are very independent, very enlightened, and they're very robust. We have a lot of respect for them. They're very professional, and they said so. The international community that monitored this election also said so.
Well, international community,
but the point is that in any case, if for instance,
it's the opinion of Nigerians that matter the most in our elections.
And in
not
any case,
international
would you, for instance, would I, as an APC man, if I did a review of the election or a post-mortem and showed you, would you?
That's why I asked.
You feel that
that's why I did say, did you conduct a poll with Nigerians to gauge their opinion about the last elections? That's a question I did ask, not within your party.
But the point is that I told you for free that the outcome of the 2023 election, the data thrown out by the election, is sufficient statement on what Nigerians feel about democracy in Nigeria.
So when you talk about the challenge we face, and this came about because the question I asked about the performance of the governors.
Yes.
So your party is the ruling party. You have the majority in the National Assembly, even among the governors. So what policies are there to improve our elections that your party cannot take?
Pardon?
Your party is a majority in the National Assembly among the governors.
Yes.
So if there were issues that we need to improve, or policies that we need to formulate to make sure not just our elections now, and then the quality of leadership is a lot better.
Yes.
Why is your party not doing that?
No, our party is doing well in promoting, lawmaking, for instance. For instance, in the 9th National Assembly, that went, was able to, for instance, amend the Electoral Act. You understand?
Yeah. Let me
the quality of elections. Right now, there is also, effort to amend the Electoral Act again, and also amend the Constitution again to be responsive to the needs of Nigerians.
You've seen several Nigerians going about looting what they say, warehouses, even private warehouses now, because of the economic situation they feel is really hard for them to bear. Many of them in the states governed by your party. Isn't that a direct feedback as to the policies that are being put in place, either at the center or at the subnational level?
Well, you see, there is volatility, in the country, on our streets, and in our rural communities and so on. This volatility is driven by many factors. Number one is lack of deterrence. That people
deterrence
in terms of people, you see, if they see a truck, carrying goods, they impound and steal, or they go and break into warehouses. And deterrence, number one. But the other issues are poverty, and as well as frustration.
These are the other issues are the main issues, sir.
Yes.
It is the main issues.
Yes.
A poor man will not. Someone who has food to eat in his house will not go and be stealing from a food truck.
That's why I say so. Poverty. There's poverty in the country. I mean, it is not hidden. It is not hidden. But we are one of the points in the 8-point renewed hope agenda is the reduction of poverty, and there are many measures taken to empower Nigerians. To not only reduce the impact of these policies on them, but at the same time to make them productive, to give them opportunity to earn incomes and create revenues for themselves.
All right, we have to thank you for coming on this morning.
Is that all? So you just called me to harass me and...
I didn't know you wanted more. We thought you had enough. We thought you had enough, so we started to. But actually, it's time for business news. Waziri Bulama is the former National Secretary of the APC. He's also an architect. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, well, business is off next, so don't go away.